Hey y'all, I am so excited to film this video. I didn't think I was going to get it together. It's Best of Beauty 2021. The reason I didn't think I was going to get it together is that I recently filmed a video about my most worn makeup of 2021. And I was like, am I shooting myself in the foot by doing this? Is it going to like cancel out Best of Beauty? But when I sat down to brainstorm for this video, I had a brain wave, which is that to me, the best discoveries of 2021, the best beauty discoveries, aren't necessarily individual products. When they are individual products, it's because the individual product has shown me something about my makeup preferences or my beauty preferences. And when I look at it that way, like what I've learned about what's great in makeup or what I like, what I prefer in makeup in 2021, then I have a video. And that's what we're doing today. So I'm going to be telling you what I consider to be the best and most exciting makeup and beauty discoveries of this past year. We're going to be going through like techniques and ways of doing makeup and formulas. And there are products associated with each one of those things. So when I talk about a certain thing that I've learned that I like, I'll tell you about which product or products it is that showed me that that's what I like. But the focus is not going to be on shopping and acquiring products or even on like my capacity as a reviewer of products. The focus is going to be on how makeup is used and how we think about what works well for us technique-wise. So hopefully this will give you some ideas of things that you can do with the makeup that you already have and not be a thing that sends you out to immediately buy a whole bunch of stuff, which is I think what Best of Beauty videos usually tend to do. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm really glad you're here. My name is Hannah. I love beautiful things. I love makeup, but I don't love overspending. I don't love it for me and I don't love it for you. So this is actually kind of a quintessential HLP video because we're talking about products, but we're framing this discussion in such a way that it might help you turn inward instead of spending money and chasing the next best new thing. If all of that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe. And now, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. I feel like this is a serve. Is this what they call a serve? I'm feeling very styled. I know the hair is controversial. Some of you really, really hate it. You don't have to be so mean about it, okay? But I love it, and that's all that matters. There are actually, I think that there are people in my actual life who don't like it either, but I'll say it again. I just feel like it's very, I don't know what, but it's something vintage and it's something a little bit ridiculous. Like, I feel like I like it the way that Trixie likes some of her wigs. It just gives something really specific and a little bit uncomfortable. And I'm just here for it. And I actually think it's that and it's also not unflattering. A magical combination. When I get into my lady drag, it just works okay. So there are some things that didn't make it into this video, especially products, specific products, because I did try to make sure that there wasn't too much overlap between this video and recent videos that I've done that have been like collections of makeup that I'm going through the products one by one. So the aforementioned video about my most used makeup of 2021. There's also a recent video about beauty wins, like 5 products that have really impressed me lately. My video about wet look eyeshadow, the best wet look eyeshadow. There's a bunch of stuff in there that I might have referenced in this video, but I decided to keep it out. And also I just filmed a video like re-reviewing or revisiting the reviews of all of the luxury makeup that I've reviewed recently. And there are some products that might have edged their way into this video that were in that one, and I decided to keep them out for brevity and also just to keep myself from repeating myself. I will link those videos down below. And if you love this video and you're hungry for more and you want to know like more of the makeup that I like or more of the makeup I've been using a lot this year and you haven't seen those ones, I highly recommend clicking through and watching them as well. So the first really exciting makeup discovery of this past year for me, and maybe the most life-changing, like maybe the one that has the broadest implications and the longest lasting implications for me, is this. I have learned that I prefer, when it comes to base product, like concealer, foundation, which to me, it's sort of the same thing. Like whatever you use to even out your skin tone, make the skin on your face, the shade and the texture that you want and make it as even as you want, conceal blemishes, all of that stuff. Whatever product you use for that, I prefer that product to be very highly pigmented and also dewy, and emollient. I've thought for a long time that because I like a natural skin look, I would gravitate towards tinted moisturizers, things that are sheer in pigment, where you just put a sheer layer on, you can see your skin through it, you know? And I've actually reviewed a number of products like that, and it's never really worked out for me, and I didn't really realize that until this year. The product that, well, I was about to say that the Rose Ink Concealer is the product that made me realize it, but it started before that. It actually started with the Purito BB Cream, which I like this product because the first tube that I got, well, I like it for all of the reasons I'm about to talk about, texture, etc. But there's also something else I like about this, which is that the first tube that I got, what used to be the lightest shade in the range, it's like gray. I mean, honestly, look at that. It is the color gray. But because my skin is so neutral and has some olive in its undertone, which I'm not going to talk about today because I just filmed a whole video about that, but that was a great revelation this year. Because of that, it's like neutral, but not in a way that's a cross between pink and yellow. It's like neutral in a third direction, which is like an olive direction. Because of that, when base products have a gray tinge to them, they work really well for me. So I was really into this product, even though it's too dark for me. I was like mixing it with brighter concealers to make it work. And I fell in love with the finish, the formula. And it's because it's really, really emollient. It's like a beautiful BB cream, like really lovely feeling on dry skin, and it works beautifully on dry skin. It doesn't cling to dry patches. It just goes on, but it's so pigmented that a little bit goes a very, very long way. And I'm able to sheer it out really, really quite a lot. And so you can kind of see my natural skin texture through it, but there's so much pigment, it really evens out my skin tone. And I don't end up feeling like, oh, I didn't put anything on, I need to layer on more. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to like layer and layer and layer a product for more coverage when the product itself doesn't have very much pigment and doesn't really stick to itself because it's more like a lotion or a serum. And I feel like that's what I was running into with the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid, blah, blah, blah. The Lisa Eldridge, the Fenty Eavesdrop, I ran into that with Fenty Eavesdrop. The Lisa Eldridge Seamless, blah, blah, blah. All of those products that are like lightly pigmented but buildable, I just could never get my skin to look the way that I want it to look. But I always shied away from full coverage, high pigment because I was like, oh no, that's like cake face. That's for somebody who wants to be snatched to full glam and like insta fierce baddie drag queen. But when I started applying that Purito BB cream and I was like loving how the combination of high pigment and an emollient, dewy finish made my skin look and feel, and how easy it was to use it, a little door opened in my brain into a room that I didn't know was there. And then a month or two down the line, I reviewed Rose Ink. This is Rosie Huntington Whiteley's makeup brand. The concealer suits me particularly well for two reasons. Again, the first reason has to do with my weird undertone, my very, very pale, slightly olive toned skin. It's super neutral and maybe even a tiny bit green or a tiny bit gray, and so it works really well for me. But it was a combination of that and the fact that the pigment is completely bananas with this product. Like the tiniest bit will go for days and days and days. And it's also emollient. So it's high pigment, but it's not super matte and it doesn't dry in a cakey way and it doesn't cling to dry patches. So the combination of like getting to know this product, which by the way, when they expanded the shade range of the Purito and I bought the lighter shade and it doesn't work for me at all. It's like orange. I had hopes, but they were dashed. That's why I have two bottles though. The combination of my experience with this and my experience with this made me realize that my ideal base product is one that is very, very pigmented, but emollient and can be sheared out and manipulated and can be, it's like if something's high pigment, it doesn't mean that you can't get light coverage from it, but it doesn't usually go in the other direction. It's hard to get heavy coverage from a lightly pigmented thing. But if something's heavily pigmented, if you just use a teeny amount and shear it out quite a lot, in almost every case, it will work to give you a more skin-like finish and not cake face. And that's the case with both of these, especially again, because of the dewiness, the emollients. What a revelation. I've been wearing makeup for years. I've been making YouTube videos about makeup now for 4 years. And it was just this year that I finally learned what my preference is for base products. And I feel like it's going to save me a lot of angst and headaches in the future here. And, you know, it might direct me to review things that are more up my alley instead of just like beating against the brick wall or reviewing this type of base product that seemed like it would be the thing for me, but I just thought I had never found quite the right one. And I finally learned that it's actually just not quite the style of makeup that works for me. Those like sheer tinted moisturizer type things. Category number 2, discovery number 2, taupe lip gloss. The thing that caused me to realize that I have only ever wanted a taupe lip gloss in my entire life is the Trixie Cosmetics Truth or Dare lip gloss. The Trixie Cosmetics lip gloss in the shade Truth or Dare. It was marketed as a sheer, sparkly taupe lip gloss. And when I saw that, I was like, why didn't I think of that before? Like, why has the concept of a sheer sparkly taupe lip gloss never been even in my fantasy, when in fact it was my fantasy? And I realized that as soon as I saw this, and I was able to make it a reality by buying this product with my own money, which is what I did. This wasn't even for review. It was just for me. Because I saw those words, sheer shimmery taupe lip gloss, and I was like, my old life is over and a new life has begun. Oh, I love it because it adds shine, but the taupe, I feel like what I've been trying to wear all of these years is brown lip gloss because I love that neutral look, that sort of neutral, sultry, shiny look on the lips. But really brown lip glosses tend to be difficult for me because as soon as I overline a little bit with them, the darkness of the color is so contrasty with my skin that it looks a mess. It's a little bit hard to control. Taupe, though, I don't have that problem with for some reason. I think it's because the fact that it's sort of like a gray brown makes it paler. It maybe also suits my undertone better, right? Like I feel like brown lip glosses tend to be warm and orangey, whereas a taupe lip gloss has like a little gray in it, maybe a little green in it. And so it doesn't look like such a mess. It kind of looks like it suits. And I can put this just like blah, 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 all over up to here. And it just looks cute as opposed to looking like I sort of drew outside the lines with my lip gloss. So this is my favorite one, but Merit also, when they expanded the shade range of their lip oil, which is a product that I really like, they came out with one called Taupe. And this is, wow, I've never swatched these next to each other. It's amazing that they're both being called Taupe. The Merit product is much rosier, and so it looks more natural. I've been wearing this in a lot of videos lately. It's become like my default lip gloss, and I love how it looks. I really, really love how it looks. It's got this rosiness to the brown rather than like an orange quality to the brown, which is maybe how they're getting away with calling it taupe. And because of that, again, it gives me that sort of toned down, slightly deepened lip look that is like a deep nude for me, kind of, because I do have pretty pigmented lips, but also this very, very pale skin. So it gives me that, but without it feeling like it's fighting with my other makeup or with my undertones. Or even if I just have like a bare face, I'm not wearing very much makeup, it doesn't feel like it's doing too much, it's too much of a statement, and it's unbalanced. So these have turned out to be two very different colors, but they're both called Taupe, and I love them both. And Taupe lip gloss is one of my favorite revelations of the year. And I know I asked this before, but tell me about all the other taupe lip glosses out there. What are your favorite taupe lip glosses? Anything that's even in the realm of those, like loosely in the realm of those two shades or somewhere in between them. Tell me. You gave me good suggestions in the last video, and I feel like when I was going through the comments on that video, I was either distracted or didn't have time. I clicked through and investigated some of them, but I didn't end up, sorry, I have a cat here. For some reason, I didn't end up following through with any of those leads. So repeat your suggestion if you gave it before, or give me a new suggestion if you haven't given me one yet. I'm curious about taupe lip gloss. I'm like over here thinking I might do a comprehensive review of all the taupe lip gloss. Taupe Gloss Olympics. What do you think? Okay, the next one on the list. Love this one. I was looking to prepare for this video. I was looking back over all of the videos I've released this year. So I scrolled down on my video page to the very beginning of the year, and I remembered that in January of 2021, I was really into the work of Terry Barber. And I spent a long time, a lot of the year, it was like the first couple months of the year, I built that palette, Terry Barber-inspired palette, and that's a really fun video. If you haven't seen that, it's one of the overhead videos where I'm like creating a palette with just my hands in the frame. If you haven't seen that one, I really recommend watching it. I'll try to remember to link it. So I created that palette and I talked about that and I did a look on camera, Terry Barber-inspired look, but you guys only saw like a fraction of it. I was so into Terry Barber and I was doing a lot of looks on and like looks that I wore on camera, but I didn't apply on camera, and a lot of looks that I didn't even wear on camera from that palette based on Terry Barber. And the idea of the looks that he does affected my entire conception of makeup and the way that I interact with my collection. And it continued to sort of trickle throughout the year, even after I had dismantled that custom palette and I wasn't talking about Terry Barber so much anymore on YouTube. I feel like if I were to describe what it is that was the like exciting discovery of 2021 that's connected to Terry Barber, the idea is like a matte, all matte. The first thing that comes to mind, because there's a lot, but the first thing that comes to mind is like a single color of matte shadow, or maybe it's like just a tiny bit satiny in a really dirty color, like a dishwater or like a dun color, all over the lid and buffed out pretty big under and over the eye, around the eye, and maybe with no mascara or just a tiny bit of mascara. So that really sort of smudgy, dirty, industrial muck kind of color in a matte or slightly satin shadow all over the lids, and not really feeling like you're trying to sculpt the eye or make the eye look more flattered, but just enhancing in sort of like a model-esque editorial way the eye. And then the same idea, but with a bright color like a green, or I don't know, like a weird eggy yellow. And then also the same idea, but with something really greasy and creasy. So it really just looks like oven grease all over the lid, creasing and showing skin through it. That kind of thing. That's all imagery from the Terry Barber universe in my mind. And it has really stuck with me. And it's something that I return to. And it's a phase that I'm really glad that I went through in 2021. I feel like these days I'm doing those kinds of looks with the Gucci palette. I wasn't planning to mention a palette for this item. I was just going to like talk about my experience with Terry Barber's imagery and imitating his techniques. But it does occur to me that the way that I'm interacting with this palette, which I talked about more recently in my video about revisiting my reviews of luxury makeup, the way I'm interacting with this palette is 100% directly inspired by my experience imitating Terry Barber at the beginning of the year. So it's like back in January, February, March, I was looking at a lot of his imagery. I was doing a lot of looks based on his imagery. And now here all the way at the end of the year, I received this palette as a gift, and I'm doing those same looks with this palette because I feel like the colors really lend themselves to that. Like especially these four here at the bottom, but even the metallic silver, that's something that Terry Barber uses a lot. And like the matte powder blue is something that he uses a lot. So this whole bottom row, and then definitely like the rust color up here and the flat white up there, all of that, that's the kind of makeup that I was using back at the beginning of the year, inspired by that imagery. And when I use those shadows, I'm always doing the like all over the lid, just like wash, a little bit sheeny because some of them have a little bit of a sheen in them. And it looks a lot like the looks that I was doing at the beginning of the year. So it's really been like a full circle thing. And I think that I have learned to appreciate this palette more and the formulas, and I'm using it much more than I otherwise would if I hadn't gone through that Terry Barber phase. Okay, underneath Terry Barber on my list here, it just says Gucci lipsticks. I guess I momentarily forgot about the brief, which was to be talking about like exciting discoveries just in makeup at large. And I was just like, oh yeah, I have to talk about the Gucci lipsticks. But I mean, it's valid. It's valid. I give my past self credit because I do feel like I just can't lie. Like discovering that I'm obsessed with these Gucci lipsticks, it is one of the things that happened to me this year in makeup. The way I feel about these Gucci lipsticks, it's like become the standard to which I hold all other makeup. So when I'm sort of tempted by something, but I'm not really sure, I'm like, well, wait a second. There's Gucci lipstick in the world. So like, why do you feel like you might want to buy this other thing? You know? And that is, it's just become like this real North Star for me, the way I feel about these lipsticks. And I have two of them here to show you. Maybe I should show them all to you because I guess I have four. I mean, that's a lot for me for one thing or even like one brand. But I was over here feeling like I had like 500. I felt like I had 400 Gucci lipsticks I was about to show you. And then I like got them all together and I have four. But they're four really exciting ones. The original, this was the first one I ever had, the Lip Voile in Goldie Red, the Gucci Red. They've called it Goldie Red. This one I purchased for myself around around the time that I got married, and I used it with a lip liner for the makeup look that I wore on that day. It's called Lorna Doone. It's got a little red on it because I've been mixing it with a different lipstick. It's a great mix-in for me. It's a bit much when it's worn on its own, but it's beautiful with just a lip liner or mixed with something else. This was a gift from my friend Michelle. It's the satin lipstick in A Royal Scandal. This is currently my favorite lipstick in my collection, and it might actually be my favorite lipstick of all time. This was also a gift from Michelle. It is Janet Rust, which is one of the matte colors. Here's all four together: Goldie Red, Lorna Doone, A Royal Scandal, and Janet Rust. And then here are the swatches in the same order. So Goldie Red is that sheer red. Lorna Doone is that very, very pale putty nude. Then we have A Royal Scandal, the brown, and Janet Rust, which is obviously the matte right there on the end. Why do I like them so much? I think it's the combination of the colors and the finishes. I mean, that's the most important thing. I love the colors that these come in. It's like hard for me, when I think about going and buying myself one more, for example, it's hard for me even to narrow it down. It's like hard for me to choose which one I would want because there's so many that are so perfect. And the names are really beautiful and poetic and enhance the feeling of specialness around them. And then on top of that, the packaging is the best. I feel like it would be the best even if it wasn't Gucci. And then the fact that it is Gucci and they're all branded and they all say Gucci on them, it just makes it feel that much more absurdly special. I've heard that the scent of those lipsticks has been a little bit divisive. Some people really don't like it. It's a violet scent. It's a very distinct, like violet candy scent, which is old-fashioned in a way, but it doesn't have that sort of musty, perfumey smell or taste. I really like it. I don't particularly love eating violet candy, but I really like the fact that it's not super sweet and it's also not super perfumey. I feel like it's an unusual, special, distinctive choice, and it fits the brand in every way. But just to put it out there, they're not unscented, and I know that there are some people who don't like the way that they smell. So I had a real love affair with Gucci lipsticks this year. I think that if we're going to have like a takeaway that's not about the specific product, the takeaway is the thing that I said about feeling so passionate about them that I'm able to use that feeling to put other less passionate feelings about other products into perspective. And it has helped me to be like, why would you buy this when you could just save your money and buy another Gucci lipstick down the line? That has helped me when I've been like caught up in sort of like the confusing desire to just collect more and more and more. So it might not be Gucci lipstick for you, but maybe there is something that's like that for you. And I feel like when you discover something like that, whether it's in makeup or in some other realm, like in fashion, then that, if you name it, if you can know what it is and like hold it out in the light and understand that it's your North Star, that can be kind of like a life-defining moment in terms of like shopping habits and the collecting of beautiful things. Okay, next on the list is another technique that's actually more specific even than the Terry Barber stuff. This year I started wearing like a sort of a flat, barely there blush, washed out face with a strong red lip and absolutely no eye makeup, including mascara. Like no eye makeup, no mascara, strong brow, barely any blush, if not no blush. Often I'll just do like an illuminator on my cheeks, sometimes with like a slight pink tinge. Pretty clean skin, like concealing all blemishes, and a really strong lip. And I've loved it, or I've loved it much of the time. The moment that I discovered this, I remember I filmed a video called Feeling Terrible, putting on a bunch of luxury makeup and then feeling better or something like that. It was like a luxury makeup get ready with me months ago, like halfway through the year. And at some point in that video, I had really blanked out my skin. So I was looking pretty flat, not even very luminous, like pretty flat on my skin. And I had a strong brow on that day. I think I had just dyed my brows, and I put on my lipstick before I did anything else. And it was a really strong, like rusty, orangey red color. And when I was editing back the footage, I looked at that part. I was only halfway through my makeup, but I looked at it and I was like, that's a finished look that I really love. Like I loved the way that it looked. And I've attempted to replicate it several times, and sometimes it's worked and sometimes it hasn't worked. Sometimes it's felt a little bit unbalanced. I think that the key is that the lip has to be a little bit blurred. It can't be too graphic. The lip has to still look natural, or it really looks like I just haven't finished my eyes. And I think too that if the brow is too super structured, again, it'll look like I haven't finished my eyes. So you have to keep everything a little bit more toned down, a little bit natural. But overall, it's been a distinctive development in the way that I do my makeup and the way that I interact with my makeup. It's like a new way of wearing makeup that I now have that I didn't have before, because I would never before go out with like a strong lip with nothing on my eyes. I would always at the very least wear mascara. And for years I've been wearing just mascara on my lashes and nothing on my lids with a bold lip every once in a while. Like, it wasn't that I'd never done that before, but completely leaving off any eye makeup at all so that my eyes really look my age and really have that sort of like squinty, sort of like a baby bird just hatched kind of look. It's the Tilda Swinton realness look. That's what I've been calling it. There is something special because my lashes they're actually kind of blonde. You know, my hair, I mean, I don't know how red it looks right now, but it's sort of like a reddish browny blonde. And my lashes and brows, when they're undyed and unmascaraed, are quite pale, like quite blonde. And there is something kind of special about that. It's distinctive. And the thing is, it's what I actually look like. Like, that's what I look like. I look like, in my eyes, I'm like Tilda Swinton looks when she shows up at events with no eye makeup on. Like, that's a look that I have. And not everyone looks like that. A lot of people have pigment in their eyelashes. And so even when they're not wearing mascara, they still have some definition around their eyes. But it's just really changed my life in a way to feel like the way that I look naturally is something that I can leverage to create an editorial effect or create like a specific makeup effect by leaving makeup off of part of my face. And I actually really like the part where I feel like I look more my age. I like it when I'm editing a video where I don't have any eye makeup on and I'm like, oh yeah, those are the eyes of a 36-year-old woman. Like, you can see all 36 years in my gaze. There's something empowering about looking your age. It's like, yeah, look at me. I've lived all this time. And it's nice to feel like I have that choice. And it's not like I can't come on camera unless I've like done something to make my eyes look brighter and younger. Okay, next on the list, this is a big one for me, using liquid illuminator as primer, basically. This is something I think I've been doing pretty much all year, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I feel like it started with the Chanel. So it did start at the beginning of this year. It started with the Chanel one and kind of Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, but I feel like Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood is sort of marketed as a product that you can use as a primer. It's like a hybrid base / priming product. And the Chanel one is more of just like an illuminator for the cheeks, or maybe it's something that can go both ways. As soon as I got it in my hands, started just putting it all over my face. And I didn't bring it over here because as we've neared the end of the year, I haven't been using the Chanel one as much, although I still like it. I've decluttered Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter because it's been fully replaced by Auric Glow Lust. And it is Auric Glow Lust and Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin that have been the two that I've used the most this year, fully smearing them all over my face and having that be my primer. So I'll do my skincare, put on sunscreen, and then go in with one of these and do like a whole layer, and then paint some kind of base product on top of that to change my skin tone, make it more like my neck and, you know, conceal blemishes and redness and stuff like that. Just in the past couple of weeks, I've started experimenting with mixing this product with my concealer. So today, for example, I've mixed Auric Glow Lust with, actually, I mixed it with the Purito BB cream and Rose Ink concealer. I applied this look on camera in the aforementioned video about my olive undertone. So if that video has already gone up, then and you watched it, you will have actually seen what I did. But the thing that has been like the technique, the discovery of 2021 for me in terms of liquid illuminator and base and glowy face business, the beauty discovery has been that a liquid illuminator can just be a primer. And the thing that it's done is that it's meant that I rarely use highlighter, because what I do is I put the liquid illuminator on my face, then I put the concealer like just under my eyes and around here where I have a lot of scarring, and on my chin where I'm very red. And I leave my cheeks kind of like bare, but just with the liquid illuminator. And then sometimes I go with a blush on top of that and buff it over it and sheer it out. And then the liquid illuminator just like shines through from underneath. So my highlighters have kind of become obsolete because I feel like putting liquid illuminator over my face as a primer highlights everything from within. And I've been getting a lot of comments lately about the lit from within glow that I have. And that's why I have that, just because I prime with highlighter. Okay, let's talk about 2 drugstore mascaras. So I actually feel like one of them is just a really good drugstore mascara that I can't not mention because it's blown me away so hard, and that's the e.l.f. Big Mood Mascara. This is, to me, the first legitimate drugstore dupe for mascaras like Too Faced, Better Than, S. I feel like people are getting demonetized these days for saying that word, but you know, the Too Faced mascara, Pat McGrath Dark Star, Dior Show, those really amazing, super volumizing, really like gunky, buildable mascaras that give you those long, velvety, dramatic lashes. This is the first drugstore mascara that I've tried that actually does what they do. And I know I've talked about it a lot lately, but I just couldn't not include it. But I also have it on this list that I feel like I came to appreciate this year, the power of having a dependable wispy lash mascara in one's collection. And for me, it was another drugstore mascara. It was the Rimmel Lash Accelerator. It's not super buildable. It's not super girthy or lengthening or anything, but it's a very beautiful, wispy, even lash. It didn't make my lashes stick together. It didn't make them look stringy or thinned out. It just made them fan out and be lovely and soft and nice and long and dark. And I used that mascara a lot. It might actually have been my most used mascara this year because when I had it going, I would wear it all the time on no makeup days. Whenever I didn't have other makeup on, I was just throwing it on off camera all the time. I felt like it was my default mascara because it didn't take long to apply. It wasn't super dramatic, so it wouldn't compete with or overwhelm what else was going on my face, and it was foolproof. It always looked beautiful. And I feel like it lasted for a really long time too. It doesn't have to be the Rimmel Lash Accelerator. I know that there are a lot of good wispy lash mascaras out there, and I just don't know about them because until this year, I didn't really appreciate a wispy lash. I wanted like spiders' actual legs on my eyes, you know? And I still like that, which is why I'm also including e.l.f. Big Mood. But it was a beauty discovery for me this year that having a dependable wispy lash mascara on my vanity would come in handy. Okay, I have one skincare revelation, a beauty discovery that's a skincare thing. And if you follow me, then you already know that I tried Curology this year because I was having a lot of acne at the beginning of the year. There's tretinoin in my Curology formula. There's retinol in there, and it completely saved my skin. I mean, it transformed my skin and it transformed my skincare routine. So it's not necessarily about Curology. It's definitely turned out to be the easiest and most cost-effective way for me to get tretinoin, that ingredient, into my skincare routine, but I know it's not that way for everyone. There might be a better way for you, but that's actually the larger revelation. Getting on tretinoin, finally, consistently, going through the period of time when it kind of made my skin dry, getting my skin acclimated to it, and then getting it like on my skin consistently was huge for me. Skin transforming, and again, skincare routine transforming. And the thing that it did to my skincare routine was that it made me simplify it dramatically, because with that Curology custom formula in my corner, I don't have to do a lot of the other stuff that I was doing to manage my acne and my redness. Cleaning it and moisturizing are like the two things that I'm still doing. But all of the other brightening, evening, scar removal, all of that stuff, the custom Curology formula does so many of those like active treatment things. I feel like that's what it's done. It's simplified the actives part of my skincare routine down to just that formula, and that knocked out so many steps for me. And then the things that I'm still doing are just more like physical things like cleansing and moisturizing. My skincare routine went through the biggest transformation this year that it's gone through since the end of my no-buy year. At the end of my no-buy year, and that was the end of 2018, years ago, I replaced all of the expensive skincare in my routine with much, much less expensive skincare, but I still had all these steps. It's like so many steps in my skincare routine. And this year, that like 10 or 12 step skincare routine shrunk down to like a 2 or 3 step skincare routine, depending on what I like have and what comes in PR. Sometimes there are a couple more things that I'm just like playing around with, but the staples are just the Curology formula, a really good moisturizer, and a first cleanse and a second cleanse. So I had to put that in here because it may be the thing that had the biggest effect on like how I feel about my face this year, you know? I mean, just not having like a face full of acne like it did at the beginning of the year. And then the secondary effect that starting Curology had on my interaction with beauty, which is the simplification of my skincare routine, is also pretty dramatic and a pretty big deal. I think that that's it. Honorable mentions go to static nails because I've loved painting my nails so much and I really like the static nails formula. I feel like my look on here, on camera, and in real life too. But you know, my look has changed recently in that I'm like always up here with some kind of color painted on my nails. I also want to give an honorable mention to the Victoria Beckham Kajal eyeliner in the shade Bronze. My reaction to the formula and color of this, the way that it feels to apply it, and then the effect that it has on an eye look for me because of the formula and the color was very strong. Like so strong that when I sat down to make the list for this video, this was the first thing that I thought of. And it's probably just because it's something that I've been testing more recently. It's like a recent addition to my life, so I feel very excited about it. It's like I come across good makeup all the time. And every week I'm like trying something and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good, or oh, it's nice, or it can make a pretty good, you know, it's always, there's so much good makeup. It's 2021. We're like really lucky. There's so much beautiful stuff on the market. And then every once in a while I try something and it's like way up here compared to everything else. I try it and I'm like, what? Because it is incredibly creamy and blendable. Like you could just use it as like a cream eyeshadow if you wanted. But there's also something about the color and the way that it gets trapped among my lower lashes, like the roots of my lower lashes in my waterline. It sort of gets stuck among them and creates this beautiful, nuanced like darkness that's not black and it's not brown, and it's very flattering and earthy and satisfying. And I just couldn't have imagined that before I used it. Okay, this is supposed to just be an honorable mention, but I have to move on. I have to end the video. I really hope that you enjoyed this. Again, I know that there are products that you might have expected to see in here, but that were missing. And it's just because I've talked about them so much lately. There's been a lot of beautiful makeup this year. But what matters more to me is that I've learned about what I like. I've learned about my preferences when it comes to base products. I've learned about my undertones and what kinds of colors flatter my undertones. I've learned that I'm obsessed with Gucci lipstick. Just kidding. I've learned that an illuminator, a liquid illuminator, makes a really good primer for me. But you don't have to spend, you know, the $40 or whatever on these liquid illuminators. There's a really good one that's made by Maybelline. That's like a drugstore product. That's, I think, $10. I really love that product. The only reason that I didn't keep using it is that I have these other beautiful ones and it was a little bit dark for me. But the principles apply beyond the products that I talked about today. And so I hope that you're able to get something out of this, even if you don't own any of these products and you're not planning to buy any of them. In any case, I'm very grateful to you for watching this video all the way to the end, and I very much hope that you will take particularly good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.